Hey, what's up guys, ReconBrothers here for a new video, and today will be all about bug out bags. You know, that thing on your back when you need to disappear for a while. Well, we have been doing several survival courses over the past few months and have been building our bag along the way. So we now could say we have a pretty good idea of what we need, and thus we will show you our bug out bag today. But before we dive into that, make sure to subscribe to the channel and hit the bell button, it really helps us out. Also visit shop.ReconBrothers.com for most of the tactile equipment we will be showing today. Now roll that intro. Okay guys, before we dive into the material you need, we first want to mention a few things about survival. Know that there is a huge difference between survival and living in the wild. Whereas survival is only temporary and living in the wild means you're going to settle down. Obviously for living in the wild you will need a lot of more stuff and also have a lot more knowledge. So today's example will be for survival purposes, and for that we have our bug out bag. Now for those of you that don't know what a bug out bag is, it is basically the backpack you take with you when you need to leave as soon as possible, and it should feature everything you need to survive in the wild. So the number one rule to prepare your bug out bag is to prepare yourself in the best way you can with the least amount of equipment. So the more you know, the less you need, but tools make life easier. In theory you could even survive with just a knife or even nothing if you have enough knowledge and experience. It won't be easy, but it is possible. Another few things to keep in mind when preparing your bug out bag is the period of the year, the environment you will be surviving in, and whether or not you will be surviving on your own. Do know that surviving in group requires more stuff, but you're also more flexible, you can divide the workload, you can share each other's equipment, and you are stronger as a team. So when it comes to me and my brother, we both have our own backpack with the essentials we would need and some stuff we share between the two of us. However, today's example will be for one person surviving on his own, so it contains everything you would need. Now besides the bug out bag itself, you would also need a plan. For example, where are you going, who are you traveling with, or who are you meeting up with, how are you traveling, and things like that. Now let's dive into the bug out bag itself. So to break down the material we have in our bug out bag, we have divided the material you would need for a survival situation in their categories. The first one is the bag itself. The second one is your shelter. The third one is water and food. The fourth is fire. Fifth are the tools. As for number 6, your clothes. As for number 7, your hygiene and medicine. As for number 8, hunting and defense. And finally, number 9, extra. So let's first have a look at the backpack itself, because it is probably the most important part of your equipment, because you're basically carrying your house with it. So guys, we highly recommend you guys to spend money on something decent that won't malfunction or be discomfortable, as that would make your already tough time even harder. So what should you be looking for when buying a backpack? We highly recommend to go for one that at least has 70 liters of volume, but preferably even more. Another thing that would be great is a modular backpack, since this way you can up the volume of your backpack or attach materials onto its side. Another extremely important factor when looking for a backpack is the comfort it provides. You want your backpack to be comfortable even when it's under load. Another thing is that it has to be adjustable, so you can optimize it to your body. Another quick tip we can give you guys is to test your backpack loaded before you have to work with it. An example of such a backpack is a Tasmanian Tiger range pack, which has a whopping 90 liters. Another example is the one my brother uses, which is a Tasmanian Tiger field pack, which has 75 liters of volume. Both are not cheap, but totally worth it. These will certainly do the job because they are designed and used for long-range military operations. When you got yourself a backpack and you know the stuff you want to put inside of it, we highly recommend you guys to organize your stuff. Meaning put the heavy stuff as low as possible and the stuff you need quick access to easy in reach. Another thing is make compartments, so everything is neatly organized and you know where to find what, so it saves you valuable time. When it comes to putting things in compartments, a good tip we can already give you guys is to keep the stuff that you want to keep dry either in a dry bag or a plastic zip bag. For example, your spare clothes or your fire starters. Another tip when it comes to such compartments is something we came up with very recently, and it is a personal tip of ours, which is basically our first line gear. This contains the bare minimum of tools we would need to survive if we happen to lose our backpack. This is the stuff we take out of the backpack once we reach it, and this goes into the pockets of our jacket or our pants. So the first thing in this bag, as you all would expect, is an axe. Just kidding, of course. No, the stuff that's in here are some light sticks, various fire starters, a wire saw, a compass, a grinding stone, a headlamp and a flashlight with some spare batteries, paracord, and finally a folding knife. And obviously the bag itself is also very useful. Besides this small bag of very useful tools and the backpack itself, it is also nice to have immediate access to a pair of good outdoor boots, pants with a lot of pockets to put all this stuff in, and a sturdy belt. So that was everything regarding the backpack. Let's have a look at our next category, which is the shelter, and thus also your sleeping equipment. When it comes to shelter, the most important thing in our experience is a tarp. This lightweight package will allow you to easily and quickly set up a shelter that protects you from the elements. This specific one is a Snugpak Stasha G2. It has a surface area of 3 meters by 3 meters and comes with everything you need in just one small package. So next up when it comes to shelter is sleeping. For this we use a sleeping bag, and more specifically the Snugpak Special Forces 2. This one is comfortable to use from -7 degrees Celsius and can go all the way down to -12 degrees Celsius. Now why this specific one? Well, we had some other sleeping bags that were meant for warmer temperatures, but we had a feeling that they were still too cold and they didn't seal well enough. So we tried this one, and the cool thing about it is also that it has some tactical advantages. So the next thing we carry with us when it comes to sleeping are all about making your life a little bit more comfortable. For this we're talking about a pillow. We have been using some improvised things like folded clothes or an empty bottle, but that just didn't work out, and in the end became more annoying than having to carry the lightweight pillow from Snugpak. This one is the butterfly type, and we can say that it is absolutely awesome. So the next thing we take with us for added comfort is the Snugpak Travel Light sleeping mat, and we can say that this thing is absolutely awesome. It does a very great job even on the hardest of surfaces, and it is also an inflatable product. The final thing we want to talk about when it comes to sleeping is a Snugpak Bivy bag. This is more of an emergency item, but it is smart to have it with you since this will protect you and your sleeping bag from the elements. All of this stuff together is pretty compact and lightweight. It only weighs 4 kilograms. We know some people prefer a hammock, which requires even less space. Both have pros and cons, but we're not going to dive into that right now. So next up is our third category, which is water and food. Remember, you can only generally last 3 days without water and 3 weeks without food. Water is clearly the most important one, so we are prepared to carry 4 liters of water with us from the start. So these 4 liters of water are stored in 2 different products, of which 1 liter is stored in the Waldo Explorer bottle, which is a very handy bottle that can be attached on the backpack or on your belt, so it is easy in reach. The other 3 liters of water we store in our CamelBak Mil-Spec Crux, which is a military version of the Crux series of CamelBak, and this is generally stored inside our backpack and is a very tough product. So the next thing when it comes to water is meant for when you are running out of drinkable water and don't have the ability to make fire at the moment. We're talking about purification tablets. This will allow us to make 6 liters of water without the use of fire. So the next thing we take with us is for when you do have a fire and you want to be able to boil your water. For this we have a fireproof mug. We also recommend you to get one with a lid, or you're drinking the ashes and the charcoal with it. And another smart thing to get with you, unless you want to find out the hard way, is take a clamp with you to get it out of the fire so you don't burn yourself. Next up is food, and for this you want to carry enough calories to last you a couple of days. For this we started off with some MREs because they stay edible for a very long time and they are packed very compactly. However, we quickly realized during the survival course that there's also a lot of stuff in there that isn't immediately essential, so we slimmed it down to our own packs, which we now use. Now the last thing when it comes to this category are things like cups, plates, sporks and so on. For this we use the Campa box from Waldo, which features it all. Now the reason we stepped over to this, coming from the military version, should be quite obvious. Next up is fire, which is unimaginably important in a survival situation. It keeps you warm, it allows you to keep the animals away, it allows you to boil water, cook food and dry your clothes. So for this it is best to keep with you several ways to make fire. For example, fuel tablets, a flint, some matches, a lighter, some duct tape for in wet conditions, but you will need something to put it on, and a plastic transparent bag. Now those were the products you could use to start fire, but of course boiling water takes time, so the quicker you get it done the better, and for that there are these days luxurious products like a jet boil with some gas cans that make your life easier until you run out. Next up are the tools, and the first tool we have here is a fixed knife. This one we mainly use during bushcraft for the rough work, and this is the Jagdkit KNV2, which can handle quite a lot. Another knife we have here is a foldable knife, which is the Recon one from Cold Steel, and we mainly use this when we need a sharp knife. So this way we always have a sharp knife with us. Now of course every knife that gets used gets dull over time, so for that reason we also have a sharpening stone with us with both a rough and a fine side, so we make sure all our edges will cut. So our next tool is a wire saw from Helicontex. We haven't been able to put it to the test yet, but we did see some great stuff being done with this, so we definitely can't wait to allow it to help us deal with those bigger chunks of wood. Another tool we take with us to deal with those big chunks of wood is an axe. This is the hatchet from Hultafors as an example, but you could also go for a small saw for example. The next tool on our list is a shovel, which comes in handy for, you guessed it, digging holes. Well, we mainly use it for when we for example want to build a less noticeable fire like a Dakota fire pit, or when you have to visit the outdoor bathroom. This particular example is a foldable shovel from Gerber, and it has a serrated edge, which comes in handy as well. The next tool we have with us are lights. The one on my head is the Enduro Pro from Streamlight, and the one in my hand is the Polytech X USB from Streamlight. Both are very durable and reliable lights, and above that the Polytech X is also multi-fuel. These things come in very handy during nighttime, and having some spare batteries is always a plus. In addition, for when we run out of light, we also have some light sticks with us. These can last you another couple of hours, and these specific ones are from the brand called Helicontex. Next up are tools we take with us for when we want to fix stuff, create traps or alarms, and so much more. Here we're talking about two tools that can't be missed. One is duct tape and the other is paracord. As for our last two tools, one is a 50-liter arid dry sack from Helicontex, which can be used for when you want to keep your clothes dry when you have to cross a river for example. And to know where to head, we also have a compass with us. The next category we arrive to are clothes, and the first thing we take with us are gloves. These specific ones are work gloves from Mechanics, and they do the job just fine. Another thing we take with us is a beanie. As a human you lose a tremendous amount of heat through your head, so keeping your head warm is the key to surviving. The next thing we have here are sunglasses. These specific ones are ballistic sunglasses from Revision, but the main purpose of these is to keep your eyes from getting fatigued during sunny days. The next product in our clothing category is a poncho. This specific one is a Tasmanian Tiger tack poncho, and this is mainly used to keep yourself dry, and this particular one is big enough to keep your backpack dry as well. The next thing we have here is a wind stopper. This specific one is from ReconBrothers and it's called the Gunfighter Jacket. We've had it for many years now and it's still doing its job fine, so we highly recommend it. The main reason we take this with us is to prevent ourselves from cooling down due to wind, because you lose a lot more heat in windy conditions than cold conditions alone. Another thing we take with us are gaiters. These are mainly meant to keep your shoes and pants dry and clean during wet, muddy or even snowing conditions. Next up we come to spare clothes, and one of these are spare pants, either from Spartak or Direct Action, but basically any outdoor pants that are durable and have a lot of pockets will suffice. Some other spare clothes we take with us are t-shirts and underwear from a sports brand called Odlo, mainly because these products are all synthetic and thus they have a good moisture and heat transfer, so they don't create burn spots when on the move. We also have some spare socks in here. These specific ones are the military versions from a brand called Uphill Sport. We absolutely love and recommend them because they keep your feet dry, they don't start to smell, they dry very quickly, so everything you need in a sock. Next up we come to the category Hygiene and Medicine. Here I have a small IFAK which contains everything we need for small injuries. In addition, it also features a tick pen because it is very important when going outdoor, and if you have some specific medicines you need to take, make sure to have them with you as well. Another thing to deal with nature's little here we're talking about ticks and mosquitoes are a repellent to keep them away. Next up, when it comes to more serious injuries, we also have a trauma kit with us. This contains stuff like a tourniquet, an Israeli bandage and even an isothermal blanket, for example. Some last things when it comes to hygiene are a roll of toilet paper, a towel, baby wipes, shampoo, toothbrush and some toothpaste. Some other stuff we take with us that we categorize under extra are, for example, two-way radios if you travel in group, some face paint, additional waterproof plastic bags, power banks with a solar charger to charge up your lights, a notebook and a pen to make some sketches, a map of the area where you are to navigate yourself, and finally a climbing rope with some carabiners. Now if we consider all of this stuff packed and ready to go, we are talking about a backpack of 30 plus kilograms. And then we still have to talk about our final category, hunting and defense. Now we talk about the category hunting and defense lastly, because we are still working on it, so we don't have examples of everything. And also it is not all particularly in our bags because of some legal reasons, but it is always smart to have it around. Now eventually you will run out of food, so you will need to hunt. There are various options for this, but the two most modern ones are a gun with ammo and a bow with arrows. And in the end, these things will also serve you well if you need to protect yourself. Now both have advantages and disadvantages. For example, a gun has superior range, but it is also loud, and when you run out of ammo, you're out of ammo. On the other hand, a bow is silent and you can craft your own arrows if needed, but it is limited in range. Of course, if you take that stuff with you, you will also need other stuff to maintain it or use it properly. So guys, that was it for our bug out bag. If you think we forgot something, let us know in the comments down below, we'll be happy to discuss it. And also let us know if you guys even have a bug out bag. Thanks for watching, we hope this video gave you some insights on what should be inside it. If you're looking for this equipment, make sure to visit shop.reconbrothers.com where you can find most of it. Thanks for watching and I'll see you next time.